10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome tonight. Labour Party holds its National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Former presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, slams the leadership of the country, warns that Nigeria is collapsing. As the clock ticks towards the November the 8th Anambra state governorship election, Jude Ezenwafo emerges the governorship candidate of the PDP, while Charles Onyeze gets the nod to fly Accord Party's flag at the poll. Rivers State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, appoints administrators for the 23 local government councils in the state, as he also reconstitutes boards amid legal tussle. And China has announced an 84% tariff on U.S. imports. It takes effect on Thursday after Donald Trump imposed a 104% tariff on Chinese goods entering the U.S.
On business news tonight, Nigeria posts 6.83 billion in balance of payment surplus for the first time in 3 years in 2024, and on impact on reforms and renewed investor confidence, according to the latest report from the central bank.
And on sports news tonight, world number 5 Novak Djokovic crashes out of the Monte Carlo Masters after losing to Chile's Alejandro in the second round.
And from the nation's capital, customs chiefs across West and Central Africa meet in Abuja as Finance Minister urges adoption of technology to boost revenue collection.
We begin with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Mr. Peter Obi, who says Nigeria is a failed state as its security and economy has been destroyed. And Mr. Obi, who was speaking at the National Executive Committee meeting of the party in Abuja, decried the level of killings and the dire economic realities facing ordinary Nigerians. He also asked citizens to support the Labour Party as it's the only credible opposition in the country. Our correspondent, Dele Omayeni, now reports.
Following the Supreme Court judgment on the 4th of April 2025, the Ninadi Usman-led caretaker committee of the Labour Party is holding its National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja. Present here is the 2023 presidential and vice presidential candidates of the party, the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, members of the National Assembly, former governorship candidates of the party, and other members of the executive committee. Mr. Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed comment on the state of the nation.
Nigeria is collapsing. Anybody can say anything. The numbers are clear. The indices are clear. Very clear. More and more people are poorer. If you want, go to your village. The people who are begging now are no longer, there are even people who are that are no longer people who used to feed and are begging.
There used to be a party, a mammoth, that said it was going to misrule Nigeria for 60 years. Today, that party is not only a department, it is a detachment of another party. What happened, of course, they switched off IREV, they changed the meaning of English language, and they bent our constitution. And I remain by what I said. This serving government remains questionably constitutional.
The caretaker committee chairman is extending an olive branch to all party members following the judgment of the Supreme Court.
I therefore call on all party members, whether aggrieved by the decision of the Supreme Court or not, to set aside their grievances and ambitions and come join us to build a party that will stand with the ordinary Nigerian and a party that would ensure that the gains of democracy are available to every Nigerian.
In his remarks, the governor of Abia State says he exhausted all avenues to resolve the issues in the party before the Supreme Court judgment.
I had sat with Mr. Abure last year, and I asked him, I said, what do you really want? And he said he didn't want anything. I said, okay, I can speak to my leaders, and you can become a BOT chairman. I offered that with their approval. But I also gave him some pieces of advice. I said, if I were you, I wouldn't want to lead people who wouldn't want me to lead them.
The NEC then resolves to take the certified true copy of the Supreme Court judgments to the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. As the leadership of the party and members arrive at the commission's headquarters, there is an initial resistance, but they are eventually allowed in. Mr. Oti explains to the senior management of the electoral body why they have come, and INEC immediately gave their response.
It's instructive to know that in your website you have an Julius Abure, the chairman of the party, but you do have a clock here that says by court order. Since there is another court order, we call on you to remove his name and replace with distinguished Senator Textile and
the chairman of the commission is done here is away on official duty. And as soon as we leave here, we will communicate with him. We will meet and take decisions on this matter.
It is expected that in the coming days, INEC will reveal who it recognizes as the chairman of the party. Dili Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Staying with the Labour Party, and in the meantime, the leadership of the party, led by Mr. Julius Abure, is insisting that the judgment of the Supreme Court vindicated Mr. Abure as chairman of the Labour Party. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Obiorifo, they claim the caretaker committee, led by Senator Nanadi Usman, is misinforming Nigerians about the import of the judgment. Consequently, any National Executive Committee meeting convened is null and void. Now, the party leadership says it will no longer take kindly to anti-party activities from any member, no matter how highly placed. It's a season of politicking in Anambra as the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, and the Accord Party have held their governorship primary election in Awka, the Anambra state capital. Jude Ezenwafo has emerged as the PDP flag bearer with 798 votes, while Charles Onyeze secured the Accord Party governorship ticket, having polled 93 votes. The contenders gave assurances of leading their political parties to victory in the Anambra governorship poll coming up in November this year.
Over 800 PDP delegates converge on the Professor Dora Koile Women Development Center, Awka, Anambra State, for the governorship primary election. The chairman of the primary election committee, Mr. Cornell Onwubua, gave details of the process. The result is announced, and Mr. Jude Ezenwafo carries the day as the PDP flag bearer with 798 votes.
I appreciate it and dedicate it to God Almighty. After members that have left the party, I have assured you that we're going to build the entire so that this is the beginning of our success.
I will
go back to drawing board and set up our agendas, draw our programs, and start engaging the people of Anambra State with our candidate. Politics is all about wish of the people, but as a political party, it is our duty to bring forth our candidate before the people and seek for their vote.
By the results before us, CC Onyeze scored 93 votes and is hereby returned as elected to flag the party's flag in the November election, in November 2025 Anambra State governorship election.
In the Accord Party camp, a similar process had taken place with Mr. Charles Onyeze being endorsed as the flag bearer, being a lone contender.
All of us will come together and get ready to take over so we can repair Anambra State.
The two primary elections are coming days after political parties picked their candidates for the November 8th governorship election.
Congratulations.
In Rivers State, the government has announced the appointment of administrators for the 23 local government areas. The decision, approved by the administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, also includes the reconstitution of some boards of agencies, commissions and parastatals that had earlier been suspended. According to the statement by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Ibibia Worika, the appointments are to take effect from Monday, April the 7th this year. However, the government is yet to release the names of the newly appointed administrators. This development comes just hours after a federal high court in Port Harcourt scheduled April 14th this year to hear a suit filed by human rights lawyer Courage Nsiri of Pilex Center for Civic Education Initiative. Nsiri is seeking to hold the appointment of local government administrators in the state. Justice Adamu Mohammed, presiding over the matter, who did not issue an explicit restraining order, instead directed that the administrator of Rivers State be put on notice to appear and show cause why the request to stop the appointments should not be granted. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt has directed the Rivers State administrator to appear before it and justify why an interim injunction should not be granted to hold the appointment of sole administrators for the state's 23 local government areas. The order, issued by Honorable Justice Adamu Mohammed on Monday, April the 7th this year, followed an ex parte motion filed by the Pilex Center for Civic Education Initiative and its coordinator, Courage Nsiri. Now, the applicants sought to restrain the Rivers State administrator and his agents from proceeding with the controversial appointments, arguing that such actions could undermine democratic processes in the state. In his ruling, Justice Mohammed emphasized the need for fairness, ordering the respondent to be put on notice and to show cause why the injunction should not be granted. Staying with the situation in Rivers, where the former governor of the state and chairman of the Rivers Elders and Leaders Forum, Mr. Rufus Ada George, is directly accusing the FCT minister of masterminding the political tension in Rivers State, including the alleged plan to impose a state of emergency and the recent appointment of sole administrators across the 23 local government areas. He stated this while briefing journalists today in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, following the political development announced by the sole administrator. The elder statesman who governed the state between 1992 and 1993 claimed the FCT minister Nyesom Wike has been at the center of the crisis following failed attempts to influence political outcomes in the state.
I'm coming out plainly to accuse him now. Initially, we would have probably made a palliative statement, but we are saying, I am saying, I'm not that Wike is the architect of all these things. He has worked. Mr. President has traveled and he's gone back. He's now swept dead, heaps of dead, piled up somewhere, waiting for Mr. President to come and clear. Him and all those that are alleged are supporting him, whether in the presidency or in the National Assembly, the Senate, or the House of Reps. We are pleading with them that we will continue to highlight the actions and activities of Wike from now. We should not continue to precipitate crisis. He knew probably the military administrator had invited some people for peaceful discussions. He went in. He was reported to have been here on the 7th, Monday evening, traversing the whole place, visiting the military administrator. Then the following day, this announcement came.
In part two, after the break, Sweden Crown Princess Victoria Desiree visits UNDP Innovation Center in Lagos. It says climate change-enabled green innovations, including inclusive policies, are essential for unlocking the potential of the blue economy. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Labour Party holds its National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Former presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, slams the leadership of the country, warns that Nigeria is collapsing. As the clock ticks towards the November the 8th Anambra State governorship election, Jude Ezenwapo emerges the governorship candidate of the PDP, while Charles Onyeze gets the nod to fly the Accord Party's flag at the poll. River State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, appoints administrators for the 23 local government councils in the state, as he also reconstitutes boards amid legal tussle. And China has announced an 84% tariff on U.S. imports to take effect on Thursday, after Donald Trump imposed a 104% tariff on Chinese goods entering the U.S. Staying with the political situation in River State, and this time lawyers and stakeholders are disagreeing over the legality of the decision by the sole administrator of the state, Ibokete Ibas, to appoint sole administrators for the 23 local government areas. Some accuse Mr. Ibas of going against the Supreme Court's judgment on local governments, while others say it's a state of emergency and the appointments are justified.
Following the appointment of 23 sole administrators to take over the affairs of the 23 local government areas of River State by the sole administrator, Ibokete Ibas, mixed reactions have greeted the development. The coordinator of a Rivers-based NGO, the PILEX Center for Good Governance, Korojin Sirimovu, had gone to the Federal High Court in the state seeking an ex parte order to stop Mr. Ibas from appointing sole administrators for the local government. The court had asked that the defendants be put on notice and come forward to show why the prayer shouldn't be granted. In a press briefing on Wednesday, Mr. Nsirimovu accuses the administrator of contempt of court.
The court agreed with us and compelled the sole administrator to come and show cause why these prayers to restrain him from appointing administrators for the local government, why these prayers should not be granted. Substantially, the suit is majorly arguing that it doesn't have the power to appoint LG administrators, and as such, praying the court to perpetually bar him from doing so.
Elsewhere in Port Harcourt, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Lawrence Okujaja, faults the sole administrator's actions, saying they are not only unconstitutional, but capable of causing more problems.
The sole administrator again is overreaching himself by dismantling the democratic institutions. Just this morning, he has gone ahead to appoint sole administrators of the local governments. He has gone ahead to appoint members of RESEC. These are unconstitutional actions being taken by the sole administrator, and which is not even covered by the Gazette
Another Port Harcourt-based lawyer has a different view. He, however, welcomes the development, arguing that it is legally justified because of the state of emergency.
Payment of salaries before now have been withheld and delayed because of the impasse and because of what's been going on in the state. But I think by the coming of these 23 administrators, they will be able to ensure that they carry on the policies, programs laid down in those councils to also assist the state administrator to administer River State properly and ensure that in less than 6 months, the River State comes back to where it's supposed to be among the committee of states in the nation.
This development has raised new questions over the legality or otherwise of Mr. Riba's actions in the politically unstable River State. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
Environmental experts say climate change-enabled green innovations, including inclusive policies, conservation, preservation, and restoration efforts, are essential for unlocking the potential of the blue economy, while also expanding economic options for coastal communities. To better appreciate changes and opportunities, a Swedish Crown Princess Victoria Desiree today visited Tomorrow Island in Lagos. This visit set the basis for a more solution-focused engagement by innovators at the UNDP Innovation Center in Ikoyi.
5 cowrie jetties at Falomo, and it's an early morning call for Princess Victoria of Sweden, accompanied by Sweden's Minister for Infrastructure and Housing, Andreas Carlson, on her 3rd day in Nigeria. Escorted by the Marine Police, her first engagement is to one of 23 island communities in the shadow of the Apapa port. Tomorrow, a fishing community whose shorelines are dotted with periwinkles and clams, is also home to very few mangrove forests remaining in Lagos. Located within Amuwo-Dofin local government area of Lagos State, the island is accessible only by water, with daily life deeply intertwined with the surrounding waterways. This field trip provides insights into the resilience of community local knowledge and the tension evident considering competing economic interests amid climate change and the fast pace of urbanization.
In this community, they actually understand that value and they do everything possible. For instance, when they go to fetch firewood for cooking, they don't cut down the mangroves. They wait until some stalks are dried, and they only use what is not anymore useful for the environment. So what we want to do is co-create with them, not to go and lecture them, because they are living on the front lines. They have much more knowledge, underground knowledge than any academic research could bring. And we just need to respect their practices that have been productive and then try to bring in some technology and new ways that they can also adapt to, because also the conditions are changing with climate change.
Princess Victoria's delegation heads up to the UNDP Innovation Center in Ikoyi. From riding the solar-powered tricycle to earning points for a recycled bottle, the princess experiences the immersive innovations from the Green Tech for Climate Action Station, AI Social Impact, and the Frontier Tech Creative Economy stations.
We had our Timbuktu startup founders here who were able to demonstrate their talent to the Swedish delegation, and ideas are popping up on how connections can be made to scale some of these founders' work.
The team at the UNDP believe the high-level mission to Lagos will help deepen advocacy and engagement on key development opportunities, including positioning Lagos and indeed Nigeria as a hub of creativity, innovation, and digital transformation.
So let's head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Millicent.
Hi, Ayotunde, you are quite right. Now, it's a call for concerted efforts by customs agencies within the West and Central region to adopt technologies that will help boost revenue collections. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Adu, at a meeting in Abuja decried the low intra-Africa trade, noting that while the latest import tariffs by the United States remains high, The action presents an opportunity for Africans to improve their trade balances and revenue mobilization processes.
It is the 4th World Customs Organization Donors Conference for the West and Central African region, with the theme Mobilization of Partners Around Priority Projects in the West and Central African region. Some of the discussions at the meeting center around digital transformation and automation, trade facilitation and security, revenue collection, and the need to strengthen regional and international cooperation.
Over the years, the WHO have made significant efforts to foster dialogue with donor agencies and other development partners to raise their awareness of customs administration as government institutions that play a pivotal role in achieving national, regional, and international strategic goals.
Although some level of cooperation, human resource development, and enhanced revenue collection has been achieved amongst member countries, customs leaders are calling for sustained partnership in the months ahead. This is expected to be supported by policies that will aid collections and practices.
We need projects that will assist us to develop capacities for effective implementation of preferential rules of origin and verification procedures. And the last, but not the least, is the project related to regional single-window integration, implementing standards for interoperability between our various national single-window systems in the sub-region.
Intra-African trade under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement has been a concern years after its implementation. This is just as trade among European countries and Asia continues to rise. The Minister of Finance wants improved trade within the region for better socio-economic development.
We can't overemphasize the urgency that we are now facing in this area. The need to quickly pivot, to build resilience, to build attractiveness, and set achievable goals for the next phase of customs modernization in our region.
For the next 2 days, participants across the region will be deliberating on these areas of concern, seeking ways to match words with action.
Still ahead on the news at 10, for the first time in 3 years, Nigeria posts $6.83 billion balance of payment surplus in 2024. The CBN attributes to economic reforms and renewed investor confidence. That's coming up on Business News. You join us again. You're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja studios, and we head to infrastructure development, where the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, has applauded President Bola Tinubu's commitment to ensuring rapid growth. He gave the commendation while commissioning the newly constructed Gusape Mall in the nation's capital. Mr. Wike was represented at the occasion by the FCT Minister of State, Mrs. Maria Mahmood. Our correspondent, Kumbi Aboluwade, has more.
This newly constructed mall in the Gusape district of the nation's capital is the latest project being commissioned by the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Special guests such as the Minister of Special Duties, Zephaniah Jusalo, and the former Niger State Governor's wife are present for the ceremony in the company of the FCT Minister of State, Mrs. Maria Mahmood, and other top management staff of the FCT administration. The purpose of the edifice, as well as an overview of the facility, is highlighted.
The Gusape Mall, developed with our developing partner, Messrs. Urban Shelter Limited, demonstrates another successful PPP geared towards the advancement of a rapidly populating Gusape district, one of the most prestigious areas of the Federal Capital Territory. The mall has over 200 parking spaces and 46 commercial spaces.
This mall is designed to serve as a commercial and lifestyle hub for operators and visitors alike. The project itself is a flagship commercial nerve center strategically designed to enhance retail businesses, leisure experiences in the FCT.
On his part, The Minister of Special Duties commended the infrastructure and attributes it to the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu.
Guzapo Mall, this is the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who always said we must have to engage and everybody must be inclusive and the capacity.
In line with the previous speakers, the FCT Minister of State explains that the facility is a testament to the vision of the present administration in rapid infrastructure development.
The administration's dedication to modernizing Abuja through sustainable and strategic projects is a testament to its vision and prosperous and well-connected capital.
After delivering her speech, she proceeds to commission the mall in the company of other invited guests. Thereafter, they tour the facility. Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
Elsewhere, the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mr. John Ennell, has reiterated the federal government's commitment to ensuring Nigeria takes advantage of the opportunities in the cotton value chain and the textile industry. The minister was speaking at a cotton, textile and garment stakeholders meeting in Abuja. He notes that the ministry is creating a new partnership to share ideas with experts to bring new skills and innovations into revamping the industries in Nigeria.
Our country is 230 million plus and counting, isn't it? Everybody wears, you don't see anybody unless the person is mad without wearing clothes, isn't it? So everybody depends on this sector. Everyone. I mean, that is how important that you are. Cotton, textile, garment. But I think we're just joking with it. We're just playing around it. And we can do better. Talking about building the demand. And it's not just in CTG. It's almost also everywhere else, in every sector, but especially in CTG. We have to spend too much time on policies. We should make a movement forward. We should get these policies translated to action for our countrymen and women. I mean, this is just so important.
Well, let's head to security, where in response to the series of attacks and killings that have plagued some communities of Plateau State since March the 28th, 2025, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered the immediate and comprehensive deployment of police tactical assets to the affected areas of the state. A statement signed by the force's public relations officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says the decisive action underscores the Nigeria Police's resolve to restoring peace, ensuring the safety and security of all residents, and bringing perpetrators of these heinous crimes to justice. The statement explains that the IGP has specifically tasked the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Department of Operations, DIG Kwazi Dalu Yakubu, to lead and coordinate these critical intervention with significant reinforcements, including additional units of highly trained tactical personnel, state-of-the-art drones for enhanced surveillance, armored personnel carriers, units of police mobile force, helicopters, and specialized platoons from the Special Intervention Squad. The statement adds that these resources will be strategically deployed to conduct special operations aimed at effectively curbing the incessant attacks in Bokos local government area and surrounding communities. And that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Millicent. And now to some cheery news for farmers in Enugu, where the NNPC Foundation has officially launched the NNPC Limited Agricultural Training Initiative for the vulnerable ones in the state to help foster food security, economic empowerment, and national development. At the opening ceremony in Nsukka, the representative of the managing director noted that the initiative will train some 6,000 vulnerable farmers on soil and water management, organic fertilization, and post-harvest loss reduction strategies.
It's the first time the NNPC Foundation is bringing these indigenous farmers together to review techniques, compare notes, and farm smarter as they gather in this hall in Nsukka, Enugu State, for the official launch of the NNPC Limited Agricultural Training Initiative for vulnerable farmers.
Through this training,
the representative of the NNPC Foundation shares details of the training and commitment to food security, economic empowerment, and national development.
We will train 6,000 vulnerable farmers across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria in modern climate resilient farming techniques, soil and water management, organic fertilization, and post-harvest loss reduction strategies.
The Commissioner for Agriculture speaks on how the state government's programs aligns with this initiative.
We are establishing farm estates across 260 electoral wards. Each farm estate will cover 200 hectares of land, which will also be parcellated 1 hectare per farmer, and have shared facilities, extension services, warehousing, tractor services, and processing facilities, at least the primary processing facility, to get it ready for industrial use.
Elated participants promised to share their experiences and infuse everything learned into their businesses in order to boost productivity.
Agriculture is not just a business, it's a way of life. And all of us have to enter it. You must be there if you want to succeed. As I'm going home, I'm not going home alone. With what I have learned, I'm going to teach our people that everybody must enter farm.
I used to farm pepper before, but I left it because of sickness in the pepper. But after this excursion, I started thinking twice. I learned a lot from the excursion we went. I learned a lot from the experience. And I learned a lot from all these people that have gathered just because of agriculture.
This is the first phase of this initiative in the Southeast, South-South, and Southwest. The NNPC Foundation say that the North Central, Northwest, and Northeast will be captured in the second phase to align with the regional agricultural cycles for maximum impact.
Former Statistician General of Nigeria and Group Chief Economist and Managing Director at the African Export-Import Bank, Mr. Yemi Kale, says Nigeria must urgently reposition its economy in order to turn effects of global uncertainties into opportunities and growth for the country. Mr. Kale gave this advice as the keynote speaker at the 2025 Vanguard Economic Discourse in Lagos. The event brought together industry stakeholders, business leaders, policymakers, and economists. In his speech, Chairman of Vanguard 2025 Economic Discourse and President of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture, Mr. Delioye, explains it is possible for Nigeria to reshape its economic challenges and turn adversities into opportunities.
One of our biggest problems is that we still export our raw materials. It's not just only to double your export, it is to increase local processing so that you can deepen technology transfer and, most importantly, also create jobs at home. Then we also need to improve the business environment. I don't need to campaign, all of us know what I mean by that. The education and human capital. This is the biggest problem we have. If you check under the current resource, the per capita by hectare, as they say, for Nigerian farmers, if you compare with other countries, because they are not, most of them are illiterate, they do subsistence farming, the production is so small. And it barely helps. So you can use the example of China. If you provide these people with training, you see that our production will grow.
Macroeconomic stability is not an outcome, it's a prerequisite. Nigeria must rebuild investor and citizen confidence by addressing fiscal imbalances, taming inflation, and restoring exchange rate credibility. The second pillar
is economic diversification. Diversification is no longer optional. Nigeria's dependence on oil exposes it to external volatility and fiscal instability. We must rapidly expand our productive base. Strategic areas for expansion include agriculture, mechanization, irrigation, storage, and agro-processing, drive exports and food security, manufacturing, building industrial clusters, and promoting backward integration and technology adoption, services and digital economy.
Let's have more news from the world of business. Here's Joker Rogers.
Thank you, Ayon. Today, welcome to Business News. The federal government has reiterated that the Naira for crude sale deal with Dangote Refinery and other local refineries, which was facilitated through the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, remains permanent and is being fully implemented. The Technical Subcommittee on the Crude and Refined Product Sale in Nigeria initiative made this known today after meeting with stakeholders to review progress and address ongoing implementation matters. The committee clarified that the Naira for crude deal is not a temporary or time-bound intervention, but a key policy directive designed to support sustainable local refining, bolster energy security, and reduce reliance on foreign exchange in the domestic petroleum market. And latest figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows that the country recorded a balance of payments surplus of $6.83 billion in 2024, ending 3 years of deficits. In a statement signed by its acting director of corporate communications, Hakama Ali, the CBN says the feat was driven by the impacts of reforms, a stronger trade performance, and renewed investor confidence in the economy. The Apex Bank also mentioned that Nigeria's current and capital accounts showed a surplus of $17.22 billion in 2024, driven by a goods trade surplus of $13.17 billion, with remittances as the key support. Balance of payment is a statistical statement that summarizes all economic transactions between a country's residents and non-residents during a specific period, while providing insights into its economic strength and ability to compete in the global market. Well, it's a negative close at the nation's stock market today for midweek trading activities at the local bourse as profit-taking activities by investors resurfaced some high-value stocks. Will Ibong has more of those figures.
Welcome to the stock market report. Well, unfortunately, the market could not sustain the positive performance we saw in yesterday's trading session. Let's see how the oil share index fared today. Down today by 0.18%, still at 104,000 level. Let's check out the market capitalization. We're seeing it still at 65 trillion naira. Investors are not having it easy on the NGX, especially with all the dividend announcement that the AGM is going on. But let's see the stocks that drove the performance today. The indexes, we see banking down more than 1% today, 1.6% to be exact, and we see profit, a lot of sell-offs in stocks like GTCO. Now see consumer goods also down 0.23%, and oil and gas in the green because investors are bargaining hunting on O&O. O&O was beaten down to about 38 naira. Investors are seeing it as a good peak, and that's why we see that uptick, and oil and gas is in the green today. Let's see what trades drove volumes today. We see GTCO. As I mentioned, GTCO was one of the stocks that drove down the banking index. A lot of sell-offs here. That's a negative trade. 62 million units of shares traded today, and we see Access Holdings in that group as well, and Zenith Bank with 30 million units sold today. Investors are a bit cautious. I think it's time to maybe take a hold position or to sell, but we'll find out tomorrow how tomorrow's performance will have, especially with the NGX having an outstanding performance at its AGM. The performance for 2024 was great. Investors are happy, and we'll see if they can sustain it in 2025. And that's the highlight for today. Will Ibong signing out.
Thanks, Will. Stocks on Wall Street surged today, with Apple having its best day since 1998. after U.S. President Donald Trump announced Trump's 90-day pause on some of the reciprocal tariffs. Let's find out today's figures. That's Business News Tonight. Back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you so much, Joke. Sami Pusey is up next with our international news and Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. China has announced an 84% tariff on U.S. imports to take effect on Thursday after Donald Trump imposed a 104% tariff on Chinese goods entering the U.S. The Chinese tariff is an increase from the 34% it had already imposed on American imports. As China announced its retaliation, Trump urged companies to relocate to the U.S., writing, "Don't wait, do it now." Elsewhere, steeper tariffs on imports into the U.S. from 60 countries, which Trump deems to be the worst offenders on trade, have also taken effect. Germany's Conservatives under Friedrich Merz have reached a deal with the Social Democrats to govern Europe's biggest economy, 5 months after the previous government collapsed. Merz said the agreement sent a strong and clear signal to Germans and the EU that Germany will get a strong government capable of action. The two sides have been under intense pressure to put an end to Germany's political limbo since Merz's Christian Democrats won federal elections in February. Hundreds of rescue workers in the Dominican Republic have been searching through the night for survivors of a roof collapse at a nightclub in the capital, Santo Domingo. At least 113 people have died and more than 150 have been injured in the incident, which happened at the Jet Set Club. Hundreds of guests were inside the popular venue attending a concert. Singer Ruby Perez, as well as former Major League Baseball player Octavio Dotel and a provincial governor, are among those who have been confirmed dead. 20 people have been killed in a fire at a nursing home in northeast China. The blaze in Chengde City in Hebei province broke out on Tuesday night and was extinguished in about 2 hours. 19 people survived the fire and were taken to hospital for observation. Authorities are investigating the cause of the blaze and a person in charge of the home has been detained. No other details have been given. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukrainian forces have captured 2 Chinese nationals who are fighting for the Russian army in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Shibar said Chinese troops fighting on Ukrainian territory puts into question China's declared stance for peace and added that their envoy in Kyiv was summoned for an explanation. It is the first official allegation from Ukraine that China is supplying Russia with manpower. Russia declined to comment. A faulty radio antenna contributed to a deadly mid-air helicopter collision at an Australian theme park and resort, according to officials. 4 people died, including 2 British tourists, and several more were seriously injured when the 2 aircraft hit each other in January 2023 near SeaWorld on the Gold Coast. An investigation by Australia's Transport and Safety Bureau found one of the pilots did not hear a vital radio call shortly before the accident, and that a series of changes by SeaWorld meant risk controls were eroded over time. And King Charles has warned of the need for democracies such as the UK and Italy to stand together in such troubled international times.
Presidente del Senato e della Camera dei Deputati.
He displayed some of his linguistic prowess
Senatori Deputati,
as he became the first UK monarch to address both houses of the Italian Parliament, before receiving a long-standing ovation from parliamentarians in Rome as he gave a speech on the 3rd day of his state visit to Italy.
Our younger generations could now see in the news every day on their smartphones and tablets that peace is never to be taken for granted. Britain and Italy stand today united in defense of the democratic values we share. Our countries have both stood by Ukraine in her hour of need and welcomed many thousands of Ukrainians requiring shelter. Our armed forces stand side by side in NATO. We are grateful beyond measure for the role Italy plays in hosting key NATO bases and taking a leading role in so many overseas operations.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
And Nuno Mendes scored a third goal in the 92nd minute to give PSG a 3-1 victory over Aston Villa in their Champions League quarter-final first leg. Villa were seconds away from escaping Paris with only 1 goal deficit, having been battered by the League One champions who racked up 29 shots and forced Emi Martinez into 7 saves. Elsewhere, Rafinha equaled Lionel Messi's club record for goal involvement in a single Champions League campaign as Barcelona thrashed Borussia Dortmund 4-0 to take command of their quarter-final tie. The Brazilian forward scored and assisted twice to reach 19 goal involvement in the competition. Verse 10. And former Italy captain and world winner Fabio Cannavaro has been sacked by Dinamo Zagreb barely 3 months after taking over as coach. Cannavaro, who led Italy to the 2006 World Cup and won that year's Ballon d'Or as well, was appointed by Dinamo in late December. Cannavaro oversaw 14 matches, including 10 in the Croatian League. He led Dinamo to 5 victories, 2 draws and 3 defeats in the top flight as they sit in 3rd place on the table. That sport is back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. The Labour Party today held its National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Former presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, slammed the leadership of the country and warned that Nigeria is collapsing. Also today, the PDP in Anambra State held its governorship primary election where Judes Nwafo emerged the candidate of the party, while Charles Onyeze got the nod to fly the Accord Party's flag in the upcoming November 8th governorship poll. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night.